and Vice Prime Minister of Mauritius, Minister of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology, Professor Dr. Ramila Murhi, Commissioner, Higher Education Commission, Professor Dr. Ketamuli Naidu, Executive Director, Quality Assurance Authority, Professor Dr. Hiran Rajan, Director, Tertiary Education, Ministry of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology, Dr. Radhakrishna Somana, Director General, University of Bahrain, Professor Dr. Marie Jansen van Rensburg, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Middlesex University Director, Middlesex University, Mauritius, Dr. Sveta Rutulash and Ms. Vinnie Mendes-Isval, General Chairs of the National Multiplication Trainings, Mauritius 2024, Dr. Shaheen Mutala Timol, Member of the National Multiplication Trainings, Mauritius 2024, Main Steering Committee, Ms. Petra Pistor, International Quality Assurance Expert from the Walden Work Centre for Quality Assurance Enhancement at FH Munster, University of Applied Sciences in Germany, and Ms. Xian Xiaqing, Observer from the University of Potsdam. Directors of Higher Education Institution, distinguished guests, all participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. A very warm welcome to the first dialogue on innovative higher education strategies for higher education in Mauritius. It is with immense pleasure and honour that we gather here today to embark on this significant journey towards enhancing the quality management systems in our higher education institutions. National Multiplication Trainings forms part of the DICE programme, which is jointly coordinated by the German Academic Exchange Service and the German Rectors Conference, funded by the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. The University of Potsdam has been coordinating and implementing the National Multiplication Training since 2017. Until now, the National Multiplication Trainings has undergone 4 cohorts, supporting a total of 54 alumni teams to implement the multiplication trainings in their home countries. In the spirit of the higher education dialogue, the project we are commencing today is an excellent example of international and local collaborations between Mauritius and Germany through the leadership of both Middlesex University Mauritius and University de Mascareign, working jointly with the University of Potsdam and FH Munster, University of Applied Sciences. The project, entitled Capacity Building on Effective Implementation of Quality Management Systems in Higher Education, with a focus on accreditation audit and an introduction to internationalization, underscores our commitment to fostering excellence and innovation in our higher education sector. I will now invite Dr. Sveta Rutulash, Chair of the 2024 Mauritius National Multiplications Training Committee, to share a few words.
Thank you. The Honourable Mrs. Leela Devi Dukka-Lachman, Vice Prime Minister of Mauritius and Minister of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology, Commissioner, Higher Education Commission, Executive Director, Quality Assurance Authority, Director, Tertiary Education, Ministry of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology, Director General, University de Mascareign, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Middlesex University, Director, Middlesex University, Mauritius, members of the Main Steering Committee and Organising Committee, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of NMT Mauritius 2024 Steering Committee, we want to thank you all for your commitment and engagement in the programme and for being here with us today. We wish you all a very warm welcome. In 2020, the University of Potsdam issued a competitive call for applications across the SADC region to participate in training on internal quality assurance through the Train IQA program. And this is part of the German DS program, which is the Dialogue on Innovative Higher Education Strategies. That aims at strengthening higher education management structures in developing countries. Vimy Lokman-Bisesar from University de Mascarene and I from Middlesex University, Mauritius, were independently selected to represent Mauritius. This signaled the start of a very fruitful collaboration between Mauritius and German HEIs in the field of quality assurance in Mauritius. Vimy and I joined the program in 2020, part of the COVID cohort of trainees, so 25 quality assurance leads from that many HEIs across the SADC region, living out the entirety of the training through Microsoft Teams. Remember those days. Vimy and I made it in 2021. We successfully completed the course and we became the only Train IQA alumni in Mauritius. And this will hopefully change towards the end of this year as 3 participants from Mauritius are currently enrolled in the Train IQA 2024 cohort. As Train IQA alumni in 2023, when University of Potsdam issued a competitive call for project proposals to the DS National Multiplication Training's NMT program, we became eligible alongside hundreds of alumni from 7 different DS training courses across Asia, Africa, and Latin America to submit a training proposal in the area of higher education management and implement training activities in our home countries, thus strengthening the role of DS alumni as multipliers in higher education management and to promote the sustainability of the DS training courses. This was a tremendous opportunity, we felt, for cross-collaboration amongst HEIs in Mauritius and amongst the public and private sectors, and a wonderful chance for Mauritius to lead an internationally diverse training team. So a Mauritius National Multiplication Training Committee was jointly formed by Vimy, Shaheen, and I, thus proposing the project, which was subsequently successfully chosen. It was accepted by the selection committee at the University of Potsdam for having national importance in Mauritius as we are positioning ourselves as a developing knowledge hub in Africa. The internationalization of programs in higher education is increasingly important, so improving the quality of international higher education is paramount. This project signifies an ongoing commitment to enact the recent reforms in the Mauritius Higher Education Act 2017. The changes in this legislative framework for the higher education sector have entailed substantial changes to public and private HEIs, with changes in national program accreditation requirements and audit requirements. So the training committee saw a unique opportunity to share our academic ideas and our established insights into quality assurance through accessing this specific pool of funding. So our project was valued at 35,000 euros, and we won 25,000 euros of the NMT funding for this national benefit to Mauritius higher education. Thus, the first DS National Multiplication Training Program for higher education in Mauritius was initiated. The National Training Committee, Vimy, Shaheen, and I would like to wholeheartedly thank the University of Potsdam for the funding and our external expert in quality assurance, Petra Pistor from FH Münster, University of Applied Sciences from Germany, for her mentorship. All participants, we'd like to thank you for your interest, for your commitment, and all directors of HEIs, we'd also like to thank you for your commitment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Richmond. And in conjunction with this success, and before I welcome Dr. Marie Janssen van Rensburg, Pro Vice Chancellor, Middlesex University Director, Middlesex University Mauritius, on behalf of those present today, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the General Chairs, training facilitators, steering and organising committee members for their invaluable contributions in shaping this program today. Their dedication and expertise have paved the way for a transformative learning experience that will empower us to collaborate, innovate, and drive positive change in our respective institutions and beyond. I would like to invite Professor Marie Johnson van Rensburg to share a few words.
Thank you, Nancy. The Honourable Ms. Lida Duhan Dutchman, Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology, Professor Murray, Commissioner of Higher Education, Professor Naidoo, Executive Director, Quality Assurance Authority, Professor Burjan, Director, Tertiary Education at the Ministry of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology, Dr. Suma Hunt, Director General, University of Muscares, Dr. Ruud Gerlache and Ms. Lockman, Professor General Chairs, and also members of the Steering Committee, specifically Dr. Shaheen Mutala Timor, Ms. Petra Visser, International Quality Assurance Expert from Wandelbach Center for Quality Assurance and Enhancement at FH Münster, University of Applied Sciences in Germany, Ms. Zia Shin, International Observer from the University of Potsdam, Directors of Higher Education Institutions, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Nancy, I want to echo your words of congratulations to the Steering Committee for developing this fantastic program. And what a privilege and honor to be part of the inauguration event of this program. As Nancy highlighted earlier, this project really exemplifies the power of international collaboration between Mauritius and Germany, led by Middlesex University in Mauritius, the University of Muscares, in conjunction with the University of Potsdam and FH Münster University of Applied Sciences. What initially began as individual journeys for Sweta and Vimy to complete the Train IQA program, and yes, I remember the online sessions we had and the wonderful snacks provided via DHL by the University of Potsdam, has now blossomed into an international collaboration, bringing together participants from across the higher education sector in Mauritius to build national capacity in quality management. The collaboration across private and public sector higher education institutions are particularly heartening. And this project really stands as a testament to the impact of the National Multiplication Training Programs. And I want to send my heartfelt thanks to our colleagues from Germany for all the support. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to see this project coming alive. Now, the focus of this program strongly resonates with Middlesex University, as the discourse shift from mere quality compliance to robust quality enhancement. Capacity building emerges as the cornerstone for driving sustainable improvements in educational standards and fostering a culture of continuous improvement. In light of recent advances in technology and artificial intelligence, traditional paradigms are being disrupted, prompting the necessary shift on how we approach quality enhancement and capacity building. Institutions must embrace innovation, leverage digital tools, and foster dynamic learning environments to remain ahead of the curve and adequately prepare our students for the ever-evolving job market. Today, academic quality and management is at the heart of this, but it has become a dynamic target, necessitating institutions to continually reassess and evaluate their strategies, methodologies, and resources to effectively meet the changes and the changing demands from the regulatory institutions and also the sector. On a national scale, Mauritius has overcome the typical challenges of small island states and has transitioned from dependence on a monocrop agriculture to establishing a diverse upper middle class income economy. But to grow the economy even further, the World Bank and the International Finance Corporation recently identified the higher education sector as one of 3 sectors essential for our country's sustainable long-term growth. To cater to the needs of local students and to attract those from neighbouring regions, commitment to delivering quality education and fostering global competitiveness is imperative. While the Mauritius Higher Education Commission and Quality Assurance Authority sets national standards, institutions must go beyond mere compliance and continuously strive for excellence if we aspire to become known as a regional knowledge hub. In concluding, I want to highlight that collaboration between public and private institutions is paramount for enhancing the overall education sector. By pooling resources and expertise, addressing accessibility gaps, fostering knowledge exchange and strengthening the sector's reputation, we can collectively propel the education sector forward, benefiting students and the society. I extend my very warm regards and best wishes to all the participants in this endeavour, and I look forward to witnessing the positive impact of our collaborative efforts in the future. I also hope that you will create a community of practice that will keep academic quality management on the agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Jansen Berwinsberg, reminding us that capacity building is a cornerstone of innovation, and particularly for a small island like Mauritius, to become globally competitive in the higher education sector. I would now like to invite Dr. Radhakrishna Somana, Director General of the University of Mascarene.
Thank you. Good morning to all of you. I just realized what most of the things I wanted to say have already been said. So I'm not going to put the protocol with Honorable Prime Minister, Vice Prime Minister agrees. So Honorable Mrs. Leela Devi Dukan Lakshman, the PM, Minister of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology. I'm not going to repeat the list which has been repeated 4 times. So, all distinguished guests from Germany, from Mauritius, with your respective grades. So, as I said, many things I prepared have already been said. So, I try to improvise based on, I knew this was going to happen. So, I had a plan B, which is going to be based on my experience. So I have more than 35 years of experience in the tertiary sector. I've been lucky to have been involved in pedagogical and research projects, not only in Mauritius, but also in South Africa, in India, and in Australia. I even worked for 6 months at the University of Sydney when I was an academic at the University of Mauritius. So what I'm going to say will maybe disturb some of you. But there are things which I've discussed with many quality assurance gurus involved. When I was lucky to have studied in the best universities in India, just like Professor Bajan, you know which university I'm talking about. So that was nearly 35, 40 years back. And in that time, there was no quality assurance department. There were no quality assurance policies. Even when I joined the University of Mauritius in 1988, around the same time as my friend Udila, was a long time back, there was no quality assurance department, there were no quality assurance policies. But still, during 30 years, I think we can test whether the quality assurance policies have really worked. It's only the test of time. We meet those students in life after 20 years, 25 years, and we see what they have achieved. Also, you have KPIs. I agree with Petra. Because of KPIs. But we see that all the students, which Rubina and myself taught 30 years back, have been very successful in life, have contributed very successfully in whatever careers they have chosen. I'll take an analogy. Today, soft skills are being taught in university. 20 years back, there were no soft skills being taught. I think that the soft skills were acquired within the family unit, within the close people in the family. There was no need to teach soft skills. Unfortunately, one of the disadvantages of technology, people are on the cell phone, using tablet, there's less communication between students and their parents and family. Unfortunately, today we have to teach soft skills at university. It makes them more employable. So I think the reasons can be multidisciplinary. There are many reasons why we need the quality assurance policies. We need the quality assurance frameworks today. Someone can do research, maybe do a PhD on that. But I totally agree, we need them. But I think we need to reflect what has been successful in the past. I strongly believe that, that's my personal experience, spirituality and good citizenship have to be taken on board in quality assurance, besides what we usually talk about. Spirituality is often centered around personal beliefs and values, which can influence our approach to quality assurance in universities by fostering a holistic perspective. Integrating spiritual principles may contribute to a more ethical and compassionate educational environment. Promoting the well-being of both students and faculty. However, it is essential to ensure a balance that respects diverse beliefs and maintains a secular and inclusive educational atmosphere. Even today we talk a lot about quality assurance in terms of the quality of education, in terms of soft skills to become employable. I think the whole world will have failed somewhere. If we see what is happening in the world, the rich countries are becoming richer, the poor countries poor, the problem of climate change. I think the element of good citizenship has been lost somewhere down the line. So I strongly believe responsible citizenship in university quality assurance involves fostering a sense of civic duty and social responsibility among students and faculty. I studied in a university in India, in Chennai, 40 years back. It was a Jesuit college called Loyola College. Again, there was no quality assurance department, but a lot of emphasis was being put on sports, on doing CSR, and certain spiritual courses. So maybe it was part of their DNA at that time, the DNA of the lecturers, the DNA of the students, which we have lost somewhere on the way. I'm happy to tell you that at the University of Mascarenhas, we've introduced a new module related to CSR, which is compulsory for undergraduate courses. We believe that producing responsible citizens is an important aspect of quality assurance. So I won't be longer. I had a plan C also, but because I know we are running short of time. I again congratulate all those who have been involved in preparing this workshop, together with our German friends. And I've been involved in preparing around maybe a dozen international conferences when I was an academic at the University of Mauritius. And I've seen the team working, especially my head of quality assurance, Lily Maurice. Just a small anecdote. Again, Minister, I won't be following the protocol. I will say something. Very often we say Mauritius, all the laureates has any laureate contributed to something in Mauritius? So Lily Maurice was a laureate when she was at QEC. And I know she has contributed a lot when she was working for the session. She even got an international award for designing the logo of the session. I've seen her at work. And I think we should congratulate her for the hard work she's doing to all the rest of the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Radhakrishna Sumana. Like you said, experience is key to drive change and to spearhead education systems that we call upon to evaluate quality, and with the experience heads why we make changes in education. I hope in the following days of this training session that we call upon what you've mentioned, the capacity that we have as a multidisciplinary team, the values that we think are essential within education, spirituality and citizenship. Thank you. I would now like to call Professor Dr. Kitamuni Naidu, Executive Director, Quality Assurance Authority.
Good morning. The Honourable Minister, Mrs. Gila Devi Dukan Lachmanan, Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology, all heads of institutions, colleagues, and all protocol observed. As the QAA, the Quality Assurance Authority, which is responsible for promoting quality in higher education, I thought I would use this opportunity to focus quite sharply on quality assurance and what has been the shifts that have happened. Quality assurance, both internal quality assurance and external quality assurance, are not new. They've been happening in Mauritius for a long time. But something has changed. And the main change has been the shift from compliance to enhancement. The discourse has shifted as well. So what I'd like to focus on, firstly, is how does the QAA, as the regulator, view institutions in this new paradigm? And how does it view itself and the role it has to play? Then, what is the strategic response of institutions to the new framework and the new paradigm shift? Now, what is important is that the way the QAA now views institutions is around academic freedom and institutional autonomy. Institutions have the right to design their own quality assurance systems, their policies, their processes, their procedures. The QAA is not prescriptive about how that is done. In fact, what is good is if the institutions really grapple with what is the best way for us to measure the quality and improve our quality. And you know the normal research principles apply. Things like validity. Is it rigorous? Is it robust? So within that, the Quality Assurance Authority has to put in place some parameters within which institutions can operate. But the notion that institutions are responsible and accountable for their own quality assurance and the improvements that they put in place is really important. So how does the QAA view its role? Its role is about promoting and supporting the institutions in their endeavors. The way audits should be done is going to be through engagement, talking, not as coming in, measuring, ticking boxes and walking out. It's about engaging with institutions about why are you doing this in this way? Is there any other way that you could do it better? And so this role, and of course capacity development is going to be key. But there are a few other things that, in terms of the Higher Education Act, the QAA has the responsibility for. And one of those very important ones is to maintain a register of qualifications for the higher education sector. And what the QAA has been doing is to see how you can link the audits to the verification of the qualifications on the register. Now, I'm not going to go into audits in great detail because my colleague is going to be talking to you later. The other function of the QAA is to put in place standards and guidelines. This is not new because it's international practice. Our standards and guidelines are derived from the European standards and guidelines and the African standards and guidelines. So it's international practice. You will also see the QAA is talking about reviews, institutional reviews. Now, within institutions, you can call it what you want to, whether you want to call it audits or whatever term is used. But we deliberately use the term reviews because of it being a peer-driven process and an engagement process. So finally, institutions. What is your engagement and interaction and response to the QAA? You're responsible for your own setup, your own frameworks, etc. But it would be strategic to align your frameworks, your policies, etc. to the national QAA framework, standards, and guidelines, so that when you have your audits, you would be talking from the same page. So I wish you well in the first cycle of audits by the QAA, which is commencing this year, and I'm sure that you're going to find it a very enhancing process for your entire institution. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ketamani Naidu, Executive Director, Quality Assurance Authority. And thank you for reminding us of some very key views regarding QAA and how we will advance the capacity building. Promoting, supporting, engagement, review, alignment, and if I can make the link between experience, which has just been shared, and now qualifications. I think these are fundamental things for the advancements of our higher education institutions in Mauritius. I would now like to invite Professor Dr. Kiran Ranjan, Director, Tertiary Education, Ministry of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology. I would also like to ask this table, because this particular presentation involves a PowerPoint, if you would like to come to the front room, please.
Honorable Mrs. Ila Dutchman, Vice Prime Minister, Minister of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology, esteemed colleagues of the higher education fraternity, ladies and gentlemen in your respective grades, all protocol observed, good morning. My apologies, I had to make a move, but I was asked to talk about the policy perspective of what is a quality higher education institution. And this, I promise you, is going to be the shortest presentation on the right. So, the policy perspective of higher education in Mauritius is that every institution should abide strictly with the accreditation and quality assurance procedures of HEC and the quality assurance Thank you for that. Of course, no. If I've been given 10 minutes, I cannot say only this. I need to say more. So, what is quality? What is quality from the policy perspective? And I have this photograph here, and that's a glass of hot milk. Would you think, would you say, would you drink this and say this is a quality drink? Raise of hands. Nobody will drink milk. Everybody will drink milk, right? As this is a quality drink. What if I say a glass of fresh water? Would you ditch the glass of milk for the glass of water? Yes, you would, under certain circumstances. If you are in a cold winter night, you might prefer the hot milk. But if you're just out of your sauna or Zumba or whatever, you might want to prefer the fresh milk, the fresh water. But would you ditch the fresh water for the glass of muddy water? And I see my colleague from Germany, both of them saying, no. What if you've been stranded in the desert for a week and you have nothing to drink? You've seen only the sun and the sand. And you're presented with this glass of muddy water. Will you drink it? Yeah, you would. Thank you. Why I'm saying this is because quality, therefore, cannot just be defined as what is quality. Quality has to be defined with respect to a number of situations, number of requirements, and these requirements then define quality. I think the same thing applies for the higher education sector. What is quality for us, Mauritius, might not be the same as what is quality elsewhere. So what are our requirements of what is quality? And to talk about that, I went a little back because I thought, I remember I'm going to talk in front of Dr. Sumana, and he keeps offering me a job as project manager. And the Project Management Institute, USA, had in 2012 published the Iron Triangle. And the Iron Triangle said, if you can, on any project, determine the cost or the budget, if you can determine the time that you would take to do a project, and if you can determine exactly the scope or what is it that you require during that time and within that cost, then you've defined quality for that project. This is the definition of PMI at that time, 2012, 20 years ago. None of us were born. Then PMI changed to the new Iron Triangle. And the new Iron Triangle no longer talks about project management. Now it talks about the project managing organization. And project managing organization, I could make a parallel with higher education institution managing a number of projects. So what does it say now? It says quality is a function of business acumen. How do we deal with people? It talks about power skills, which includes collaborative leadership, communication, innovative mindset, for-purpose orientation, and importantly, empathy as being requirements to manage an organization. And then it talks about the ways of work, which says that we should recognize, any institution should recognize that there is more than one way to get a job done. There are a number of ways to do things, and we need to choose the most efficient one. Not necessarily the smartest one all the time, but the most efficient one for that purpose. And that's the new Iron Triangle. This is what PMI says. Now, going further, ISO, all new ISO 9001 also has a quality standards. And it is a 7-element quality standards, which talks again about engagement with people, about the process approach, about improvement, decision, of course, but importantly, about relationship management, about leadership, about customer focus, as being also elements to be considered when we say this is quality for an institution. Moving further down, QAA UK. For those of you who do not know, QAA UK wrote a report for Mauritius in 2015, and that was the precursor of the Higher Education Act, which created HEC and QAA Mauritius. So what does QAA UK say about quality of higher education institutions? They say that quality, when we measure quality for a higher education institution, is about 4 elements. Academics, it's about, sorry, I can't speak more, I need glasses. It's about assessment, I can speak here, learning and teaching, and it's about student experience as debates. And then cross-cutting on those 4 elements are those of students, involving student in quality assurance, effective governance, and institutional leadership. And these are some themes that keep coming up. Involving of students, institutional leaderships are elements that keeps coming up as essential for a quality assurance process of an institution to say that this is a quality higher education institution. This is what QAA UK said. There was this gentleman who visited this last year, Jamil Salmi, very renowned, and he's written, one of his books is about the challenges of establishing world-class universities. And he's also given us a framework. And his framework says, the ingredient for a top quality university. Again, we remember, the caveat here is that quality is depending on what we think it is. But according to Jamil, top quality university has to be about talents. Talents is about students, is about teaching staff, is about researchers. Then it is about the resources. And the resources has to be about public budgets, public funds. Professor Maurice here, she's the one that gives funds to all of you. Please go to her once in a while. Grants, tuition fees, and research funds. This is the second one. And the third element of what constitutes top quality university then is favorable governance. Which is not about government, it's about governance, which is about the regulatory framework which we have in Mauritius. It's about autonomy, which Professor Knight mentioned. But it is also about accountability, because there's this need always to balance out autonomy and accountability. You cannot just do whatever you want. Leadership, again, comes up, strategic vision, and a culture for it. This is the framework that Jamil proposed in his book. So taking all of this into account, then what would be, and I go back to my first slide, what is therefore the policy perspective of what is quality in a higher education institution in Mauritius? And I'm putting emphasis on in Mauritius because it could be different elsewhere. Our first one is balancing autonomy and accountability. Because even if people think they're autonomous, I'm not targeting you. Even if people think they're autonomous, you need to abide by national policies and internal governance structure. If there is a board, if there's a board of governors, and whatever they decide have to be put in place. This is governance. Second one, funding and incentives. You can ask for money and you can be given the money, but you need to be able to spend the money that you've been given. For us, raising funds ethically is one aspect. And on the other side is whatever money you have received, you need to use it in a judicious and timely manner. Third, stakeholder engagement. I'm putting it high level, but basically internal and external. Internal being students, being staff, and external could include the industry to ensure that there is this collaboration between academics and industry. Fourth, relevance, equity, and access. The ministry has this principle of leaving no child behind. And this is about equity of access. So we need to ensure that our higher education institution not only brings everybody eligible on board, but also provides programs which are current, which are relevant. It is very good to provide access to a course that was valid in 1900, but no longer of any relevance today. You will still be providing a course that is accredited, but is it relevant? If the answer is no, then it is not quality for Mauritius. And I'm saying this because, as you are all aware, Mauritius is already a higher education hub. And we want to ensure that we can service the country. How do we service SADC? How do we service COMESA? It is most probably by ensuring that whatever course we do is aligned with their requirements as well. Then the element of innovation and technology.
we've been working, HEC, Ministry, Commonwealth of Learning, a couple of years now, to bring in technology-enabled learning. I know it's something which existed since a number of years at Middlesex. We talked with Mary before. But how do we bring in technology? How do we bring in AI into the element of learning, teaching, and more importantly, assessment? How do we change pedagogy so that people no longer copy from ChatGPT and bring in the essay? How do we change that? Is an element of quality from a policy perspective. Institutional leadership is something important from a policy perspective in Mauritius. We want the people who are the helm of institutions, whether the regulatory one or the service providers, the higher education providers, to have this leadership quality which can drive the sector forward, isn't it? And this is why I've written this as respectable and effectively. I'm sorry, Dr. Suman, I did not write spiritual there. You know how I am, so I said effective. And, ladies and gentlemen, I will end my presentation where I started it. Policy framework and regulation, strict abidance with the accreditation and quality assurance procedures. Which means basically what it says is whatever I did not say in 1 to 6 is included in 7. And then I leave this to Professor Mohi to talk more about this. This is all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kira Darjan, for explaining quality using 3 classes. A new iron triangle, reminding us of ISO, quality assurance, and contextualizing this in the Mauritian context, bringing in keywords such as accountability, funding, engagement, equity, relevance, innovation, technology, leadership, and regulation. And moreover, if we are reducing the gap and allowing access to all our local citizens, young people, it's access to education. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Ramila Modi, Commissioner, Higher Education Commission.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mrs. Ria Devi Lakshman, Vice Prime Minister, Minister of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology. So my good morning, all visitors observed, and I'm very happy to be here among so many quality assurance directors and leaders. And now that my friend Kiran Bajan has already set the scene, brought you around the world, in that journey I'm going to bring you therefore back to Mauritius. I'll start with the government vision about quality assurance. So on the 12th of December 2017, as per the Hansard extracts, our Honorable VPN, who's present today, talk about a high quality higher education for socio-economic development. And I bring your attention, I'll try to move this one, where it is said our higher education sector needs not guaranteeing better success and equity, but is also called upon to lay emphasis on quality teaching and research. So this is the scene behind the HER, which Professor Bajan talked about, and this set the 2 institutions were set up, and that was the HEC and the Higher Education Commission. So coming back to the ecosystem, because we have many players and drivers of quality assurance in Mauritius, and we always have this question from all of you. What does QA do? What does MQA do? What does HEC do? Where should I send my forms for accreditation or for quality assurance? So I thought about drawing this ecosystem, which builds a bit from what Professor Bajan said. So we start with internal quality assurance, as Professor Mani said. This is from all public and private universities. You would be having internal quality assurance system. So don't listen up to Professor Sumana, who says, we didn't have any QAs, we didn't have it, now we have strong QAs, right? So each institution has to observe their internal quality assurance procedures. Then we have external quality assurance, and this is where we are. And this external quality assurance is driven by many players. We've heard Ministry of Education policy, what is the perspective on quality assurance. We have the Higher Education Commission, that is the apex regulatory body, which deals with licensing of universities, program accreditation, recognition of qualifications, integrated standards, and register of accredited programs. I know this is a big nightmare, but there's more to come. Very soon we'll accredit everyone. So, and then there's of course my colleague Quality Assurance Authority, institutional audits or reviews, qualification standards, register of qualifications. So all these players, together with you, we are there to enhance quality assurance in Mauritius. And for technical and vocational education and training, it's the Mauritius Qualifications Authority, MQA. So coming back to HEC, we are the apex regulatory body, and it's clearly spelled out in the Act what is our role. Establishment, registration of institutions, establishment of overseas institutions, and accreditation of programs. Because I have QA directors with me today, I will insist on section 17. Please, please, it's your part of your Bible. You have to make sure 17.1, 17.2, 17.3, right? You should know it by heart, actually, that no program can be run by a higher education institution if it has not been accredited by the Higher Education Commission. And if it's a professional program, you need to have the layer of the professional body giving you a no objection. This is very clear, and this is what we are currently doing in accreditation. In our strategy map in 2022, our team was building a responsive, right, quality assurance, relevant and resilient. And in our vision, we talk about leading the regulation and provision of a resilient, inclusive higher education. One of the pillars, actually pillar 1, in the strategic plan of the HEC, talks about adopting a responsive and robust regulatory framework for higher education. So this is there. In terms of, let us look at higher education in Mauritius currently for 2022. 50,566 students were enrolled in higher education, with 27,000 representing 64% in public higher education, 21.7% in private higher education, and we have what we call self-study. At that point in time, there was a big open university, etc. International students, there are around 7,000 that go abroad. So these numbers that you hear about private having more than public or public having more than private, I think it's a game that we should not get in. At the end of the day, we are there for all the students, be it public, private, self-study, or even who go abroad. So this is just a slide to show the futures of higher education in the world. You know, since 2022, the Barcelona conference, everybody is talking about futures of higher education 2040, 2050, 2030. Basically, we're talking about what are the trends so that we can start planning, right? And we also in Mauritius, together with the Ministry of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology, and all of you, public and private universities, in 22, we developed a concept map that was then used to inform our futures of higher education and higher education strategy. And 5 themes were developed, and we had the blessings of Honorable VPM on that, where agile regulatory framework and quality assurance is a very strong component. And of course, pathways and micro-credentials as part of it, which is also a bit of, will require quality assurance. So what this survey, this study was run over around 6 months to 8 months, and what did it show from stakeholders? Professor Bajan mentioned we need to have engagement. So we did that. We had more than 200 surveys from public and private faculty, staff, administrative staff, and quality considerations was one of the big pillars, again, where we talk about university provision with the quality needs, agile regulatory framework, micro-credentialing, and etc., internationalization. Again, if you look in detail about what we wanted in Mauritius, what are the elements that we want to concentrate on quality assurance in Mauritius, We have increased flexibility, greater emphasis on outcomes, increased competition, greater diversity and inclusivity, and greater internationalization. So this came up very strongly, and we heard a lot the voice of students, if you remember. We had a table dedicated only for students, and they were very strong and forceful into what they wanted to do. Right, so HEC, coming back to HEC regulatory functions, so we follow very closely higher education trends, and we adapt and we are flexible to what's happening in the world and what should be set up in Mauritius. So there is indeed a changing regulatory environment. Today we are talking a lot about online learning. Do these regulations that we had for face-to-face apply? So we have to work on regulations for online providers, accreditation and oversight. Are we able to accredit all the programs to have an oversight over all the public and private universities? Should we adopt more differentiated approach like other countries are doing in terms of regulatory framework, adoption of technology, and of course, accreditation of courses? We've started 1 year ago working on a new regulatory framework, and Dr. Timo, who is here, will recognize this slide. This comes from television. We have worked on that. We are adopting 12 standards for our regulatory framework. It's almost completed. It has now to go for regulations by the ministry first, and then regulations at the state law office who are there. And as you all know, at the HEC, we have been running a number of transformative projects. One of the biggest one is the National Credit Value and Transfer System. Together in this National Credit Value and Transfer System, there is also the credit transfer and recognition of prior learning. So most of you would recognize quality assurance, recognition of prior learning. Right now, it's at the level of TVET that we have 1 or 2 schemes. At the level of higher education, it's done at institutional level. Each university takes it at Senate, case-to-case basis. We might consider this to be a mature student, etc. But at national level, we're coming up with a recognition of prior learning guidelines, credit transfer. The government set up all the pathways last November, December to have multiple pathways from a certain level at primary to be able to reach tertiary level. So we are working on how can these credits be transferred from those different pathways. And also, as you're aware, we are working on the micro-credential framework, which is the trend nowadays. So whether you do a short volume of learning, we have to have the adequate framework to recognize that into our credit system. So these three are basically, I would say, 3 big chunks of a major puzzle which would lead to flexible learning pathways. At the same time, we work on technology-enabled learning. Nowadays, all the higher education institutions and the public ones, I'm proud to say, they all here have their strategies based on the guidelines that we develop. We have done the pulse-based homework, and we are also on the steps of implementing the national radio policy, where again there would be issues of quality assurance. So these are some of the projects over and above what we do for accreditation, funding, research, etc. And how does it impact on you? Is that whatever micro-credentials will be there in the framework taken by universities, some of them are already doing it, there will need to be key elements for quality assurance. We cannot accept anyone coming just doing, I want a macro-credential, 2 hours on how to fill this bottle or how to fill the glass of milk out from John. We need to have strong processes, and our processes are structured internal quality assurance, recognition and transferability. How are we going to recognize that either in our formal system or even as, how do we say that, not core, but the structured way in universities, transparent documentation, quality enhancement as a strategic vision for micro-credential, external quality assurance and accreditation. We are currently in this discussion. So we have a micro-credential framework that you will be able to use in all your systems. Who will externally quality assure it? Is it MQA? Is it HEC? Is it QA? Is it another body? But this is fundamental for quality assurance, alignment with international standards, national frameworks and standards, where Professor Benjamin and adheres with national frameworks and standards. So way forward in terms of QA, what is coming up? QA regulations for online providers, we are having a lot of demand for this right now from many countries. I can remember when I was doing a project in Zambia, the majority of online providers were from abroad. So if you do not regulate this, it becomes chaotic for your own system. QA for the LOA courses. So we, with the Telecol project, we have already developed 38 fully ODL courses, and the plan is that by December, we will have 80 of them. Now, these 80, they have to be quality assured before they go into the National OER repository. So we have to work on that quality assurance. The NCTPS, the recognition of prior learning, the credit transfer, they all will have to observe, of course, quality assurance aspects and micro-credentials. Right. So this is for you to know for the future what is happening and how we will all work together, because at the end of the day, all these are pieces that we fit in together with QA, together with ministry, together with MQA, together with all of you, then we can be a real robust, responsive project. Thank you.
Commissioner, Higher Education Commission, Professor Boyd. Executive Director, Quality Assurance Authority, Professor Naidu. The Director, Tertiary Education Science, Scientific Research and Administration. So I was wondering whether they wanted us to say the whole term, Technology of Administration. I was wondering. Professor Johnson Wan Rensberg, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Middlesex University. Dr. Somana, Director General of the University of Mascarein. Heads of higher education institutions, Ms. Bristol and Ms. Ken, experts, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. Indeed, it gives me immense pleasure to be in your midst this morning, embarking on the launch of what promises to be a transformative endeavor, the inaugural Dialogue on Innovative Higher Education Strategies, National Multiplication Training Program for Higher Education in Mauritius. The focus, I've been told, is on a theme that is highly significant, namely effective implementation of quality management systems in higher education institutions, with a focus on accreditation, audits, and an introduction to internationalization. Before I delve into the significance of this groundbreaking initiative, allow me to extend my warmest greetings to all who have graced us with their presence, and a special welcome to those who have traveled from overseas to share their knowledge and therefore welcome. Your presence underscores the collective commitment we share towards advancing the cause of education in the construction of the Mauritian higher education hub. I believe no one will disagree with the fact that while our regulatory bodies play a crucial role in overseeing the quality of education, it is, as stated earlier, imperative that higher education institutions take it upon themselves to push forward proactive measures to implement robust internal quality assurance processes. In this connection, I commend the joint initiative between the Middlesex University and the University of Mascarein for their dedication to the cause and for inspiring their peers to strive for excellence. We're also thankful to the German Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development for funding this capacity-building initiative, jointly coordinated by the German Academic Exchange Service and the German Rectors Conference under the umbrella of the German Dialogue on Innovative Higher Education Strategies Program. Accordingly, this, even local as it may be, nevertheless reflects a spirit of international collaboration and cooperation that is compelling, and that is compellingly aimed at driving positive change and fostering quality and excellence in our higher education system. With its focus on effective implementation of quality management systems in higher education institutions, the initiative also satisfies two important needs. For one thing, it symbolizes our unwavering dedication to staying in the forefront of educational innovation, and for another, it paves the way for a sustainable and globally competitive higher education sector, crucially positioning Mauritius at the hub for innovation and intellectual exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate what I have insisted about time and again in different programs and platforms. We hardly need to adduce the new evidence to universally recognized fact that quality education is the bedrock on which the future of our nation rests. That being the case, we are inevitably bound by collective duty to ensure that our higher education institutions uphold the highest standards of excellence. In this context, one stark reality is staring us in the face today. If we want to be ready for what is now spelled out as the futures of higher education, we need to both invest in building the capacity of our academic staff and quality assurance personnel and promote excellence in the sector. I take it that this is central to the mounting of this training program. Indeed, by equipping participants with knowledge, skills, and competencies in key areas such as accreditation, quality audits, and internationalization for effective quality management, this event aligns seamlessly with our aim to equip our university personnel with the foundations of effective quality management systems in higher education. And it is highly constructive to witness the reciprocity shown by the diverse representations from higher education institutions and stakeholders who are gathered here today. This clearly points to our collective dedication to fostering a culture of academic excellence and continuous improvement. And we should never forget the aspirational end result. Quality assurance, far from being a mere procedural box-ticking exercise, is in fact a solemn commitment to providing our students with an education of unparalleled excellence, one that is not only academically rigorous, but also relevant to outface the dynamic challenges of the modern world. Ladies and gentlemen, as you well know, the government's vision to elevate Mauritius to as a premier education destination is intrinsically linked to the internationalization of our higher education sector. We are all aware of the decline in national demography, depicted vividly by the sharp decline in the number of students joining the primary sector, and by extension, in our local higher education systems. In the face of such a situation, and with an unfaltering vision of our flourishing higher education hub, we are poised to find acceptable means to sustain our higher education sector through a different mode of student onboarding without, and I lay heavy stress on this, without any loss in standard or quality. In an interconnected world, ladies and gentlemen, the internationalization of education is no longer an option, but a necessity. Students have to be encouraged to grow and thrive in an increasingly diverse and interconnected global workforce. This is where the element of quality assurance and internationalization of the higher education sector becomes supremely important. But there is more to internationalization than that. By fostering a global perspective within our universities, we are also preparing our students to interact with their peers from different backgrounds and cultures, and thus allowing them to flourish in an increasingly interconnected world. In this line, I will remind you that the Higher Education Act has a full section on pastoral care for students, and I will invite all of you to quickly set up an institutional unit which will look after your students through their academic journey at your respective institutions, that is right from the application stage through to graduation. I'm sure the Higher Education Commission will soon finalize a guideline for setting up such pastoral care units in all our institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on this training program, I encourage you to embrace the journey ahead with an open mind and a determination to excel. Today, let us create an educational ecosystem that not only garners national recognition, but earns global acclaim. I here commend the active involvement of the main regulators, the Higher Education Commission and the Quality Assurance Authority. The new integrated standards of the higher education and quality assurance standards of Bureau are meant to be useful guides in your discussions in quality assurance. I'm sure these discussions will be of paramount importance as some of you get ready for quality audits, which Curie is due to carry out soon, I'm told. However, it is essential to acknowledge that while our regulatory bodies provide oversight, our higher education institutions bear the primary responsibility for implementing robust internal quality assurance processes. These ensure the quality of educational standards for teaching and learning, catering to a diverse student population. As we heard earlier from Dr. Maurice, the students were very forceful about what they wanted and what are their aspirations. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that this workshop will encourage all of you participants to come together and build a community of practice dedicated to fostering quality culture within our institutions. Though seemingly challenging at first, my minister will welcome the creation of a national quality assurance circle, regrouping professionals from all institutions with the sole objective of brainstorming to propose improvements to the quality assurance practices in higher education while working in a fair, open-minded, and equitable manner. Ladies and gentlemen, before closing, I think it would be appropriate to just refer to quality assurance in what has become a very important topic in the higher education sector lately, AI and ChatGPT. So I think, whilst we're talking about such improvements in artificial intelligence and there, it's important for us to see what will be the impact on our institutions, on the higher education sector, and this is where we need, while discussing quality assurance, try to focus on our assessment rules. ChatGPT and AI are here to stay with us. And it is time for us now to adapt ourselves to this status, to this situation. And what I would suggest is that we start thinking about how to review our modes of assessment. We normally ask our students to do research, to come up with their own ideas. They have to go and do their literature review. But ChatGPT is providing a short way, a shortcut to this. Yet, it's there. They are going to go there. So, are we not today called upon to review our assessment codes and to see how we can assess them not on the content, but on the value-added possibilities? What are they added to the information that they're getting almost freely and so quickly and so easily? Now, we still can discuss about whether it is right or not. The idea is that now we can access information and carry out our review literature very easily. It is for the higher education institutions now, the academics now, to start thinking and brainstorming about how to assess such works. So I wanted to just go over this part before concluding. And therefore, before concluding, let me convey my gratitude to the funders and coordinators who made this innovative program possible today. My special thanks go to the University of Potsdam and University of Applied Sciences in Germany. I also fully applaud the collaborative efforts between local institutions and international partners. Experience has demonstrated the virtue that lies in such modus vivendi that are instrumental in positioning Mauritius as a regional or global hub for innovation and intellectual exchange. The results of such initiatives are already tangible, as will be the results of this current nexus between Middlesex University and the University of Mascati. I wish all participants all the best for the next days, and let us keep in mind that the impact of this program goes far beyond individual development. It must resonate with broader national mission to elevate the quality of higher education. Our universities should stand as beacons of excellence on the global stage. Let us work hand in hand to create an educational ecosystem that is not just nationally recognized, but globally celebrated. I thank you for your attention. Now, I have the pleasure, although I must see some of the interventions was as if the workshop had already started. Let me now have the pleasure to formally declare the workshop open. Thank you all for your kind attention.